Hey Stampers, it's the Pampered Stamper, and this is the Stamparatus. So it comes with a magnet. It actually comes with two magnets, but you should only ever use one at a time. So I have one here, and one gets stored at the back. You can store both of them when you're not using them, but I always keep one on the top. So you just slide it off to the edge, and then this is a foam mat that comes with your Stamparatus. You use the foam mat when you're using photopolymer stamps. And basically a photopolymer stamp is one that is clear, okay? So we'll go into that later. They're a little bit thinner, so they need that extra cushioning. If you're using a rubber stamp like this, then you do not use this black mat, okay? So the black mat is used with photopolymer, and with regular rubber stamps, no black mat. You'll see my Stamparatus is a little dirty. I need to clean it. But the grid marks and the measurements are on here, so you can see whether or not you're stamping straight. It also comes with two plates, and they clip in like this. You only use one plate at a time, and when you store them, you definitely only keep one in, because when you have the second one here, you'll see that it doesn't go flat. It's staying up. You don't want to force it, you will break it. So when you store it, you can just take it out and lay it like that on top. Okay, so one at a time, but you'll see that sometimes it's handy to have the two plates that you can take off, and you can also use stamps on both sides. You can turn it around and use it on both sides. So let's get started. Oh yeah, a couple other things. You can buy this mat with it, and it has the black backing, but it has the grid stuff that you can wipe off. So that's really handy. And then you can also buy paper, grid paper, in a pack. And it's got big grids on one side, small grids on the other side, and they fit right in your Stamparatus, which is really nice if you want to position things and make sure your stamp is straight on your Stamparatus. So I will actually use this one. And I'm going to get started. The first card that we're going to make is this one. Okay, and I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can. So there's a pattern stamped on the navy as well as on the white. Okay, so let us get started. We're going to put the piece of navy in here, and then we're going to use this stamp right here. And let's get it off. Always keep that extra little thin piece of plastic to cover up your photopolymer stamps. So I'm just going to lay that on my paper exactly where I want it, and then give it a nice firm press. And then when you're using your Stamparatus, it's a good idea to put a case underneath, because then you've got a nice firm place to, it holds it nice and level for you. So I have a little stamp spot, a Night of Navy one, but when I get to Granny Apple Green, I'm going to have to use a big ink pad because I gave all my little ones away for my kits for kids. So you're just going to give it a nice firm press, and it looks okay, but I'm going to give it one more ink coverage just so that it's nice and dark. That's what's nice about the Stamparatus. You can stamp in exactly the same place twice. So now I'm going to turn my card like so that I can do the other corner. And since this isn't a square, it's a rectangle, I will have to move my stamp once, but I can do two corners without having to move it. So that's quite handy. And it's really, really nice to make the Stamparatus is awesome for making repeated stamping. So that's really nice. And now I need to do it in this corner. So I'm going to have to move it. So before I do that, I'm going to use the chamois and just wipe the stamp off so that I don't get my fingers all dirty when I move it. Because inky fingers end up on paper and then you ruin your paper. So I've peeled it off, and I'm going to put it on this corner. And there we go. That looks good. So then just give it a nice firm press. And always make sure you put your cardstock tight into the corner again in case it's moved. I don't know, I'm going to be doing 4 cards. I don't know if I'll get through it without a break. I might have to pause. So we'll give it a little press. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that's lined up. I find that I often need 2 layers of ink to get the darkness that I want. So I just slide the magnet off, turn it around, then I can do the other corner. And there we go. I've been meaning to do this video for a long time, so I'm sorry to those who purchased the class and had to wait for it, but COVID has really thrown everything into a loop. So there we go. So now we have that finished. The next step, we'll put that aside. The next thing we're going to do is this white square. Okay, and since it's a square, this one is, let's see, 3.5 inch square. So we're going to put that again tight into the corner. We're going to wipe off our stamp, and then we can place it where we need it to go. I clean my chamois about once a day if I'm using it regularly. So, and it's nice that you can see right through this stamp, so you can see that it's going to exactly, oops, where it's going to go. Take your time to make that first placement, because if it's off, it ruins everything. Oops. Photopolymer is a little bit sticky, so it sticks to the paper, but it also sticks to your hand. I'm feeling it has to move down a little bit. There. That looks good. Okay. So, see how it just pulled right up? So now we're just going to slide it over again. And we're using navy again. So all my cards have the theme of navy, white, and granny apple green. I really love that combo. Now the stamp set that I'm using is, okay, it's not perfect. I have a little bit of white showing, but that's okay. I'm just going to leave it like that. You can sponge later to cover up that little white edge if you like. So there's one. Now we're going to turn it tight into the corner. And this stamp set is called All Adorned, and it was a celebration set. I think you could probably make this work with any corner stamp. There we go. Tied into the corner again. Some of the people who bought the class bought the stamp set with it. I don't have any of these stamps left, I don't think. I'll double check. There we go. I will let you know. If I do, you can buy the stamp set to go with the class. And then you'll get the kit for the 4 cards as well. But you see how nicely it just overlaps and makes a pattern that goes around the whole square? So you can do this with any square card and any design if you want the design to go in all corners, and then it makes a whole pretty frame. I will be on the lookout to see if I can do this with a current stamp set as well. Oh, see that? Sometimes when you've got it, I've colored it in a little bit. It's not great, but it's okay. You know, sometimes you buy clothes and it says the slight variations in pattern are part of what makes this garment unique. And I like to say the slight variations in the pattern on this card is what makes it unique. Because when you've got such a intricate design, only 1 millimeter off, and then it's going to be different. So none of us are perfect. And I just hope that when you see me and my cards not being perfect, that you're also encouraged. That it doesn't have to be perfect and it can still be nice. Okay, so now we've got our whole pattern, and I'm going to stamp in the inside the best day ever. It actually doesn't say the best day ever. It says you are pretty much the best ever. Okay, we'll try to put that kind of in the middle. And then, you know what I did? I did put 2 hearts on either side. Okay. I'm going to wipe off that stamp and remove it because we don't need it anymore. There we go. I'll probably need that again. So now we're going to use the Granny Apple Green. And And like I said, I didn't have a spot. The nice thing about using stamp spots is that you don't get ink everywhere. When you use a big pad, sometimes you will get the ink on the Stamparatus, but Stamparatus is very forgiving. That looks nice. I'm not going to do it again. We'll take this off and then just wipe. And the thing is with the Stamparatus is when you get ink on the plate, most of the times it will not go onto your card unless you're really pressing like crazy. So let's find the little heart. And now if I use the Stamparatus to do the heart on the other side, then one heart will be straight and the other one will be upside down. So we don't want to do that. And green. And when you'll notice that when you have a tiny little stamp, you get more ink on your Stamparatus. That's why it's so nice to use the stamp spots. Now, Stampin' Up! Does sell uninked spots, so you can create, if you don't get paper pumpkin, you can create your own stamp spots. But now I'm going to turn this around, because the other thing with the Stamparatus is you should stamp as far away from the hinge as possible. That just gives you a better image, because there's not enough pressure right by the hinge. Okay, there we go. There. Okay, so you see how easy it was to make this intricate card. It did take a bunch of steps, but it certainly wasn't difficult. So now we're going to slide this off, and we'll put the Stamparatus away for a second, and we'll put our card together. So I'm just using a standard white card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to put this piece on. This navy piece is, I think, let me think, I think it's just 4